Welcome to our presentation on the World Happiness Report. We're team 139. Next slide, please. And this is what we're going to cover for the presentation today. Next slide, please. The World Happiness Report is an annual publication that brings together a global institution to offer interdisciplinary perspective on world well-being. It's based on data from the Gallup World Poll, ensuring a comprehensive dataset. A key tool in the report is a central self-anchoring scale. This measure asks respondents to imagine a ladder with 10 rungs. The top represents the best possible life, while the bottom symbolizes the worst. Participants then rate their current life on this scale. Each rung represents a step towards a better life, one's journey of personal well-being. It is a standardized measure that allows for meaningful comparisons across diverse cultures and contexts. As we dive deeper into the report, we'll explore how this scale, combined with other factors, paints a vivid picture of global happiness. Next slide, please. Now, let's explore how happiness is measured and why it matters. The World Happiness Report analyzes 6 key factors: GDP per capita, social support, life expectancy at birth, freedom to make life choices, generosity, and perceived government corruption. These factors provide a holistic view of well-being, going beyond mere economic indicators. But why does this matter? The significance of this report extends far beyond academic interests. It represents a paradigm shift in how we measure societal progress. First, it moves our focus from purely economic measures to a more comprehensive view of well-being. This shift encourages policymakers to consider the broader impacts of their decisions on citizens' life. Second, by informing policy decisions and public discourse, the report has the potential to shape the future of nations. It encourages countries to prioritize citizen happiness, potentially leading to more empathetic and effective governance. Last, by highlighting areas for improvement, it paves the way for targeted social and economic policies. This data-driven approach can lead to more effective interventions and ultimately happier societies. Next slide, please.
So in this page, I'm going to talk about the global happiness ranking between 2020 to 2024. And as you can see, Denmark has a constantly the number one in the ranking, and Sweden and Netherlands have always interact each other, and same as the Canada and United States. Next slide, please. And in this page is about global happiness by region. As you can see, we separate different countries into regions. We have Australia and New Zealand, North America, and Western Europe as the top 3. And we also separate it in the map chart, and we can easily see the different colors represented by different regions. And our observation based on that is Australia and New Zealand have the highest happiness score, which is 7.176 in the average 10 years from 2015 to 2024. And on the other hand, Southern Asia has the lowest happiness score, which is only 4.252 in the left-hand side chart. Next slide, please. In this slide, we used a ratio, which is happiness score divided by GDP per capita to see the 9 outliers showing high ratio of happiness score and GDP. And I also list those 9 outliers countries in a Mozambique, Niger, and etc. And also we have a global ranking represented by different countries. And our observation based on this story is in the box plot, we have 9 outliers in the ratio of happiness score and GDP, which means those countries have a larger gap between their happiness and GDP. Next slide, please. In this story, I separate it to different levels of countries. And the low and middle clusters are showing a negative correlation between happiness and GDP separate, which is separate in the map. And we have different colors showing in the map that's showing different level of countries. Next, please.
So this is a graph showing all the details of all the factors that contribute to the happiness score. All the factors except GDP are in the format of percentage. On the right side, this is the top 10 happiest country in the world. By clicking on the country name, the graph will show the details correspond to that country. For these top countries, they show the same pattern with high GDP, high percentage in factors including social support, freedom to make life choices, healthy life expectancy, and generosity. The generosity is relatively low to all the other scores because it ranges from about 0 to 36%. So all these countries show the same pattern. And for the perception of corruption, this score has a negative effect on the happiness score. So it is low for all these happiest countries. On this page, we built this navigation tool to help you explore data of some specific country around the world. By clicking on the region, it will take you to the map. And these different countries have different colors, where a green color means it has a happiness score above the average, and red means it is below average, and gray is around that average score around the world. One notable countries to check out is India. You can see that there's a constant decrease for the happiness score. And in contrast, there is a constant increase in the GDP, GDP per capita. So this trend reflects a trade-off decision that the governments of developing countries need to face, which is the trade-off between the economy of the country and the well-being of its citizens. And so in order to use this tool, sometimes it is hard to find countries that is relatively small on the country. For example, Singapore. So because I checked earlier, I know it is here, but it might be hard for somebody to find this. So we can do that by searching the name of that country, and it will take you to the map correspond to the country. And you can check out this specific happiness score and the trend of the GDP of that country.
Now, let's take a journey through time, comparing global happiness between 2005 and 2024. In our tableau presentation, there is a handle that viewers can use to adjust the time to the year they wish to see. Our world maps reveal some striking patterns. Consistently happy regions include North America, particularly Canada and the US, Western and Northern Europe, and Australia and New Zealand. These areas have maintained high levels of happiness over the past 2 decades, suggesting stable socioeconomic conditions and effective governance. On the other hand, we see consistently less happy regions in much of Africa, particularly sub-Saharan Africa, some countries in Southeast Asia and South Asia, and parts of the Middle East and Central Asia. These patterns highlight the ongoing challenges faced by these regions, including political instability and limited access to resources. The story isn't static. We observe a general trend toward higher global happiness from 2005 to 2024. This is an encouraging sign, suggesting overall improvement in global living standards and well-being. But that is not the full story. Next slide, please. In this next slide, we're diving deeper into the happiness trend of the past 20 years, comparing the top 10 happiest countries with the 10 least happy. The contrast here is stark. The 10 happiest countries maintain a remarkably stable average score of 7.4 over the past 2 decades. This consistency suggests that these nations have found effective, sustainable way to promote citizen well-being, even in the face of global challenges, such as during COVID-19. On the other hand, the 10 least happy countries average at 3.6, less than half of the score of the happiest countries. This significant gap underscores the vast disparities in life quality and satisfaction across the globe. Also, we must note a concerning trend. The lower end of the scale has decreased significantly, from 3.23 reported in Togo in 2005 and in 2024. This widening gap indicates growing disparity in perceived happiness across the globe. What's particularly concerning is the volatility we see in the graph for the least happy countries. The lines here are erratic, with sharp ups and downs, indicating unstable conditions and frequent changes in these nations' circumstances. The instability likely contribute to lower overall happiness score that we see in this graph. While we're seeing overall improvements, the widening gap between the happiest and least happy country presents a critical challenge for the global community. It calls for targeted effort to address this factor contributing to unhappiness in the most affected regions, promoting a more equitable distribution of well-being across the world. Next slide, please.
Okay, let's talk about the key determinants that influence perceived happiness. From data, we can observe that the most strongly correlated factors with happiness are GDP per capita, life expectancy, and social support. These are the essential components that make a significant difference in people's overall well-being. However, freedom, government corruption, and generosity show weaker correlations with happiness. This suggests that while these factors do influence happiness, they play a less crucial role in most people's lives compared to the more dominant factors such as wealth, health, and social support. Next slide, please. When we compare the happiness and the least happy countries, we can see a clear distinction in the contribution of these six factors. For the top 10 happiness countries, there is a more pronounced difference between the impact of each determinant, which suggests a significant differentiation in how these factors influence happiness. We can see the darkest color is GDP and the lightest color is government corruption. In contrast, for the bottom 10 countries, the differences between these factors are much less pronounced, like Gambia has a bigger generosity contribution, or Somalia has a darker color in government corruption than generosity. This implies that these countries struggle across multiple dimensions, making it difficult for any one factor to stand out or compensate for the others. Therefore, it's crucial to recognize the diversity of influence these factors have across different regions and populations. Next slide, please. We give some suggestions for our observations. For the top 10 countries, since they are already score high in terms of GDP and social support, the focus should be on improving life expectancy, addressing mental health, promoting charitable action. First, focus on mental health and well-being programs. Countries like Sweden and Finland should continue investing in mental health service, promote work-life balance, and address stress caused by high expectations. Second, strengthen community engagement. Countries like Australia and Canada can further enhance happiness by promoting community-based activities, fostering local involvement, and encouraging volunteerism to maintain social cohesion. Third, further reduce corruption. Even though corruption is relatively low, countries like Denmark and Netherlands could aim to further reduce it, fostering greater trust in their political institutions. Next slide, please. Now turning our attention to the bottom 10 countries, it's essential to focus on improving economic factors and the social support systems, which can provide the most efficient and impactful increase in happiness. First, improve economic conditions. These countries need significantly invest in infrastructure, education, and job creation. Attracting foreign investment and promoting small business development will generate more employment opportunities and improve livelihoods. Second, strengthen social support systems. Government and communities in these regions need to focus on building stronger social safety nets, invest in healthcare and education, and promote community engagement to ensure people feel supported, especially in times of crisis. Third, expand access to healthcare and improve life expectancy by implementing programs that promote disease prevention, improving maternal and child healthcare, and running vaccination campaign. These countries can significantly enhance life expectancy and ultimately happiness. That's all about our presentation. Thanks for listening.